Well, good afternoon, everybody. It is 3 o'clock Eastern Time, which means it's sometime wherever you are. Thank you so much for joining us today for this month's installation of the Virtual Events Group. We're pretty lucky today because you're going to go back to school and you're going to learn about computer graphics in a way that you possibly have not thought about before, which is where we're going, not where we've been. Even though I'm going to show you a bunch of crummy PowerPoints that have been around, was PowerPoint like 50 years old now? Um, we're going to go beyond PowerPoint today. But before we do that, and I introduce our guests, I just want to do a quick little review because we just came back from the NAB show where we partnered with them to launch the Creator Lab, which you've probably seen us talk about. And I just want to go over some of the findings that came out of that because they're rather we've reached an inflection point. As a matter of fact, more than an inflection point. Ryan Schramm, who's pictured in the middle here of this lovely group of people who talked about creators at enterprise scale, coined this as the singularity of social the social singularity, the point where we have officially surpassed television watching with new audiences and a real shift in how people consume media. And you probably know from your own media habits, this is huge. It has spawned an entire new industry. The gatekeepers who kept us from being celebrities and television stars and spokespeople and influencers are gone. And what you have is a new economy of content creators, which ties very much into what we'll be talking about when we talk about graphics. So what we learned, and we had a great panel with Jasmine Engberg from eMarketer, with Britt Starr from Creator IQ, where we talked about the fact that AI is everywhere, helping to shortcut the time to creation, to distribution, to creating snippets. We talked about creators being more than just the star in front of the camera, but real community builders in their own right. We talked about them as being the next entrepreneurs. They are more than just creating a TikTok or a YouTube video. They are have a seat at the table, and many large corporations now, and are making sure that their customers' voices get heard. And as we learned at NAB, they're continuing to up their skills, whether it's with better hardware, better software, uh, better means of distribution. Uh, the that became really evident, and we'll give you some links to take a look at. This is Rene Ritchie. Rene Ritchie has this amazing job as the creator liaison at YouTube, and his job is kind of bidirectional. He tells YouTube what creators need, and he tells creators what they can expect from YouTube in the ever-changing world of YouTube algorithms. And he talked about the power of authenticity, which I might add was probably the most overused word at the Creator Lab, but it's a really important word. And what we saw at NAB when we started this 3 years ago was that NAB had great tools for content creation, but created very little content at the show. So we felt that we came in with the Creator Lab and added the content creators to the equation. And so we were really proud in our little area. We had three award-winning products, Create, which is uh, live streaming. Uh, we had Amran Lights, which is a lighting product that's really portable and great, and AR Wall, which is virtual production. So we're very proud of the fact that in our little creator lab, we had three award-winning products. And for right now, we'll have the videos from NAB up later this week, but Create was kind enough to take a live stream. And if you go to the website, which I think Gigi's going to put in the chat window now, if you go to the link in the website, you will be able to um, see the videos that we have up. They're really pretty phenomenal. And let's just say the insight there is we're moving very quickly into a world that is visual. And I came out of a world of publishing that was word-based. So it's been a tough transition for me, and it's ramping up even more quickly. So today we're going to talk about the power of computer graphics, and we're going to talk about the graphic creation themselves, but I also want you to think about the future where video is searchable, video is data, graphics are data, and this is all information that will be accessible to everybody. And you're seeing this, Opus Clip at NAB, for example, has a search engine now that can look at any clip that you've ever made. So let's just say it's National Cat Day, and you made a cat video 3 years ago. You just search for cats, and there it comes up. So these tools will help us manage the vast amounts of graphics that we're accumulating. But without any further ado, I'm going to switch back to my PowerPoint, which is like now disappeared into the ozone, and introduce our speakers who you're really here to see. And I'll leave you with the thought that the revolution will be broadcast, it will be graphic, and the emphasis is going to be on image and sound. And some of us old wordsmiths like me are going to argue that it's almost back to hieroglyphics. So hold that thought while I introduce our speakers for the day. Ed Dawson Taylor, known to many of you, I'm sure, on this call, and Jacqueline Cooper, both co-founders of CG Pro. CG Pro is a community of graphics professionals, but it's also a training center where you can come in at any level, and you can come in as an enterprise, you can come in as a small business owner, you can come in as an individual, as a student, as a university class, and get the training you need on the latest tools coming out. And so today they're going to take you through the basics of what I'm going to call the new computer graphics used for marketing, used how AI is being used, mocap, and virtual production. So, Jackie, I'm going to turn it over to you right now.
Hi, everyone. And I'm Jackie with CG Pro, and this is Ed, and we'll go into introductions in a minute. But the presentation that I'm just going to share my screen that we are going to give today is taking your CG up a notch for concepts you need to know about. And the topic got chosen was when we were talking to Robin and talking about what is it that you guys, like if you're a marketing person, for instance, what would you want to know about computer graphics? What are some shortcuts? What are some ways to make your stuff stand out? And so we chose talking about the Adobe suite. And then we talked about AI, and then we're going to go into the basics of mocap and the basics of virtual production. So it's meant to be a little high level, but hopefully this will have something for everybody who's out there making content. So that's the presentation itself. And hold on. Okay, here we go. So an overview of what we're going to go into basically is who we are, and then CG marketing, AI, mocap, virtual production, and then we'll have a conclusion and a question and answer session. And I guess I'll just roll right into it from there. My name is Jackie Cooper. I'm head of community and placement. I'm also head of production for CG Pro. I am head of marketing. So I am an EPIC fellow from the first batch. I got into it through being head of 360 at Method Studios. And before that, I had gotten into VR, and then before that, I was a nuke compositor, and I worked on films such as Tron 2, Iron Man 3, the last Harry Potter film. Fairly early on in my career, I worked on Serenity, so I've worked on a lot of films, done tons of television, tons of commercials, and computer graphics is what I've always loved to do, and so that's a little bit about me. And a little bit about Ed.
Hello, my name's Ed. I'm a co-founder of CG Pro. I have been mainly a visual effects artist and a software engineer in my life professionally. I as a visual effects artist, I worked on all kinds of different things from virtual production, traditional visual effects, feature film, commercials, music videos, interactive. I worked at some of the big studios like ILM, MPC, Digital Domain. And as a software engineer, originally back in the day, I was a GIS software engineer. So that's using geographic information systems and making digital twins, but 25 years ago before they were cool, if they're cool now. Love teaching, and I'm going to pass the stick back to Jackie because this is mostly her day. So good to see you all.
Yeah, it's funny. I usually am behind the camera, but I've decided that, I'm gonna see how For My Sins doing a few demos will work today, some actual live demos. So we'll see how it goes. But so again, I sort of covered it. This presentation is meant to be for all skill levels, including business owners, marketing people, and so yeah, I kind of covered that, but here's the slide. So I'm just going to jump into marketing and creative tools. And in order to sort of set the stage for the Adobe suites, I want to go into Canva. As you know, Canva is really useful. It allows you to share your work with your team. Doing shared imagery is really easy. And I just threw an example together very quickly of we were curating the HP booth this year, and me and my team worked together to create all of the different images together where we created the background, we desaturated everybody's face, had a colored background, and did all of that in Canva. And then it's easy to download the PNG files. Some of you may know that you can also create short videos using elements as layers. Those are fairly predictable, and they do give a small pop, and they're really good for creating reels for Instagram. So just to underscore that, you can grab any of the elements such as this, and you can animate them and choose if you want to pan or pop or what you want it to do, and then you can download the MP4 file. And so that's what you could do with Canva as a group. Now, my belief is that in the near future, we are going to get absolutely flooded with information and people doing content. And we already are, but I think it's going to become a lot more so. And so what I want to talk about is very briefly how you can use the Adobe Suite, which gives you more tools to make it stand out just a little bit more and look even a little bit more professional, and make it a little more standout-y. So the first thing that I'm going to show you is Adobe Illustrator. And let me just go into, I just wanted to show a very practical example. Here's our CG Pro logo. I got a designer to design it. And it turns out that, I'm gonna pull up Illustrator. If I double click on this, it saves a version of it in the cloud. So you can work with your team. Let's see if it'll open for me, hopefully. But you can it turns out you can grab your logo and you can just export it. So you can export it as whatever you like. You can export it and you can just call it whatever you want and export it as a PNG. And once you have it as a PNG, then you have it in Photoshop. And so from the simplest, usually you'll have a designer creating your actual logo or your design for something. At least that's how I work, because Illustrator is a fiddly program. But once you have it as a PNG, you can then take it into Photoshop. And Photoshop I use in CG Pro on a day-to-day basis. And here's an example of one of the things that I actually created in here. So here is a workshop that we ran called Intro to Virtual Production, and a long time ago, because these are old badges, but we have our logo, we have that it's a workshop, and we have the company name and our badges, and all of them are in layers over here. And you can design these and color correct them, grab the imagery, decide whether you want that image or, do you want that image or that image for the background? You can pick what you want it to be. And once you have that, it turns out that you can take that PSD file and you can import it into After Effects. So inside of After Effects, you can take something and you can go file, import, and you can choose. I have a folder here just for this, and you can choose like the Photoshop file, and then you can import it here as a composition and create a composition for it, and it will actually save it into different, it'll create a project for you, and it will retain the layer sizes, it'll create a composition for you. And so if I'm not going to import it again because I just did before this, but what I want to show you is once you've imported it, what you can do with it. So once you've imported it, it turns out I've created some animations, but I want to show you, like, you import it, and I actually had this additional layer called sold out. You can import it, and it turns out if you connect it to the layer, like once you have it in there and you double click on it, it'll create a composition for you. Now, this is assuming a very minimal knowledge of After Effects, but you need to know what images are and what projects are and compositions. But if you double click on the composition, it turns out you can have all of these different layers, and you can go to animation and browse presets. And this will bring up Adobe Bridge. And for whatever layer and whatever time you're set to, so whatever time you're set to, if you go to Adobe Bridge, you can actually browse the different presets. And they have all of these cool transitions in here, and you can like see what they look like. Oh, sorry, I double clicked on it and it actually was trying to bring it in. But if I pull that down, you can actually see, in theory, well, you can actually see in theory what it looks like in the browser. And of course, because it's a demo, it is not working. But just trust me, you can actually see all of these in here. Up top. And then what you do is you can right click on it and place in your Adobe After Effects. And if you place it in your Adobe After Effects, it'll automatically bring that animation in for you. It'll actually bring that animation in for you with all of the transform keys and that kind of thing. And so you actually will get the ability to move the keyframes around and do something that you like. And so I did not spend much time on this. I apologize. I did run out of time a little bit, but this is an example of me using a few different Adobe Bridge elements, and I created this little video from it. And you can see that if I had spent a little bit more time on that, that I could have created something that popped a little bit that would have, you know, added that extra little finesse. And then I just want to point out very quickly to this that if I'd wanted to, on top of this, let's say I wanted the sold out to have an effect on it, you could also have access to all of these different effects. So you can add light rays, God rays, you know, this stuff is so fun. You can go in there and, you know, just add, you know, anything that you want to kind of add that extra edge using Adobe After Effects. So that's kind of one of the main things I wanted to show you with Adobe After Effects. The other thing that I wanted to show you very briefly is that places like Artlist actually allow you to download presets or like pre-created After Effects files. And you can also do it for Premiere, but a lot of them already have all of the bells and whistles done for you, and all you have to do is replace it. So I guess I'm already through how you kind of, so here's artlist.io, by the way. I'm just going to quickly show you. So you can actually go in here and there's video templates and you can choose between them, and they have them for, you can just decide that you want to choose something and then you can download it. And so I have one that I did this with, and I'll just, so, yep, exactly. Place in After Effects. So what I'm going to do is open up a different After Effects file. And I created based on one of these, and the original, I believe, looks like well, I had it up before, but basically I just replaced some of the images in here and some of the words, and I created this thing, and it took me about 5 to 10 minutes. And all I did was replaced the images and replaced the text. And it took me about 10 minutes. And you can see that if you found a design you liked and the words that you liked, that something like this might give you an extra little pop that maybe you didn't get from Canva. And so that's why these tools are so interesting and fun. And part of the reason I became a compositor as well is because I just love this stuff. So
Yeah,
anyway,
Jackie, when we talked, like in the prep call, we talked about, the Adobe Suite and how it can be confusing for people. So just to nail it, so Illustrator, like if you're going to do a logo, if you're going to do a brochure, you'd go to Illustrator.
exactly.
You go to After Effects when you're adding.
So yeah, so that's actually a really good point. So you go to Photoshop when you're creating some beautiful imagery. And then you go to After Effects when you're creating really designy shots like this. Its strength is really motion graphics. It's expanded into doing production and that sort of thing, but its strength is really, and the basis for it is really in creating motion graphics on individual shots. Now Premiere is their editing suite. So that's where you take all the individual shots. So I might take this shot, render out, bring it into Premiere, and then cut it with a bunch of additional like talking head stuff, for instance. Maybe this is the intro to a podcast, and then I bring it in with some talking head stuff, and then cut those shots together using Premiere. So that's the suite, but it just allows for a lot of really detailed control because I can go in and like change the keyframes,
Yeah.
make it go faster, slower. And I don't really need to know all that much about After Effects in order to do this. Especially
Yeah,
using these pre-made creations. And so that's the part that I find exciting.
it's funny. I think when I think of After Effects, I think of ransom notes. That's what my stuff always looks like. It's like I just add effects because they're there. So I think that's why we all need to go to school, to have a little, because it's there is not the only reason you would use it.
Yeah, well, exactly. And I mean, and that's where the style and the designers and the artists come in. But again, if you're just trying to create like a pretty looking logo and you want to like animate it, there
Yeah.
might be some tools that you can use that just create that little intro section for you and you don't have to do it yourself. You just, you know, can make it very quickly using pre-created assets. So that's hopefully that was a reasonable explanation in a very short period of time of the After Effects suite. I know I went of the Adobe suite. I know I went pretty fast. So basically, I want to get into AI. So I just have AI. What's it good for? So let me just do a very, very brief overview of what AI is and what are simple ways that like if you're in marketing you can use it. So I just want to go over that extremely briefly. So AI models use LLMs and or models, and basically fundamentally why we want it is because we're lazy and we want to do more with less effort. And the pros is that it's powerful, it's fast, less people can do more. So you can utilize, it with small teams as an example. Cons is right now, as of now, there's limits to what it can actually do. And you can't control everything. And I'll go into that in a second, but it can only do one thing. And then there's also some ethical concerns over copyright, over it stealing people's work and using that to train the data or even create looks that you designed as an artist. And so copyright has been something that it just went through the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said that it's got to be touched by human hands if it's going to be able to be copyright. And what that actually means, I'm not sure anyone fully knows, but I think it's important to know that it needs to be touched by an artist to be copywritten. Otherwise, other people can like publicly use whatever you created. So, what it is essentially you add an input. So you add an input such as text, image, video, 3D, sound, voice, and then it goes through this black box that you don't know what it is or how it's calculating it, and then you get hopefully the right output. And and you don't, is it right? Is it not right? If it's not right, then you change something small and then you run it again. And so that's kind of what it is. And then you begin to ask, what processes can it replace and what can it assist with? And usually what you have is you have an idea, and then you have a number of processes that it takes to get there. And the real question is will AI just, like, does it skip to the end and like doesn't need any processes anymore, or is it a tool to help you get from process to process faster? And my feeling, and the feeling that I feel is going around, or at least what I was hearing at NAB, was that it's really good as a tool to get you through the processes faster, but it's not necessarily a full replacement for everything. Now, obviously, there will be some things that you can just skip to the end on, but a lot of processes are there for a reason, and you need to it needs to involve humans, and therefore you need to have a process for it. So that's kind of where it helps in each of the individual areas. So I'm going to talk about a project that I did for a cathedral in New York City. And basically I was asked by someone to make Saint Therese come to life. She's an amazing saint. And there was going to be a concert, and they wanted me to animate her. So it's a lot easier to use AI to do this than it is to do through 2D compositing. In 2D compositing, you're looking at morphing and warping, and it would have been extremely difficult for a single individual to do. So I'm going to use that as an example of how you can use some of these tools and get into Runway, which is basically a video prompting tool. And you can also use images with it. Most people use it for video generation, but essentially you can prompt your way directly into creating a video. So if you look at this graph, you can go directly to the result. That's where prompting comes in. You get directly to a result. You can actually generate from an image or go directly to video. So you can prompt your way, like, a mouse is running towards some cheese, and it will attempt to go directly to a video. Or in the case of this project, I actually had an image input, which was an image of Saint Therese, and I was trying to get a video output of making her smile and come to life and look around a little bit. And I wanted to say that each generation of AI tool has its own pluses and minuses, so it's important to keep track of what generation of AI tool you're using when you're creating a project, because some of them will be better at some of them are made for, like, just imagery, and they're better at just that, or some of them are just better at video and they're not as good at imagery. And so another thing is a lot of them have seeds. So if you create something and you like that style, you want to remember to save the seed so that you can repurpose it for multiple shots or multiple videos. And then the way that Runway works, or at least when I was working on this project, the way that it works is that it gives you one set of video generation based off of an image for, I think it was 3 or 4 seconds. And if you like the first part, you can extend it to 10 seconds. And what you want to do is when you have an image input, you want to, like, the prompts, you might be slightly different to try and reflect what you want the video to do. So like, I'll show you in a second the prompt that I created, but basically this is an example of trying to use AI to skip traditional processes for image creation, such as warping and morphing, and recording someone doing something and then trying to turn them into her. Like, this skips all of those processes, and then the real question is do you have enough control? So I'm going to get into a little bit of what my output was. So as I was saying, the kind of thing that I was doing was I inputted the picture, and then I wrote, "Nun smiles very wide but closed mouth, looks around with a slight movement to the eyes and heads, and blinks." And the reason that I wrote closed mouthed as the example here was that at first I was getting her smiling with her teeth, and it just stopped looking like Saint Therese, because you have to understand that this is trained on all sorts of people, of humans, and what makes a person, a lot of times you can tell from their teeth whether it's the person or not. And so it stopped looking like her, and it was looking a little bit not real. So I had to add closed mouth, and I tried all sorts of different prompts, so, and they turned out very slightly differently. And it was sort of like riding a wild horse. You just never really knew exactly what direction it was going to take you. But Ed explained to me that AI doesn't know, Runway doesn't know that this is the eyes, this is the nose, this is the mouth. It has some tricks to give you minimal control. Like you can choose like this to be the shoulder. It usually has like some color pickers. This is the shoulder, this is the other shoulder, and you can try and weight it. But ultimately, all of the later generations, it's just working. I give you more control, more control, more control. I can actually show you, again, for my sins, hopefully this works. But let me see if I can pull up Runway. So I can show you some of the different things that I got. So this was a 4-second video of her kind of smiling. You can see that it doesn't quite look like her anymore, but it did give me some of that. But I can show you some of my earlier tests where it didn't actually look like she was really moving at all. And she blinks slowly around and smiles. It didn't quite look like her. So I just kept like changing the prompt just slightly to try and get something where it felt like she was doing something real. But then sometimes when I tried to extend it, I was getting even stranger results. Like she'd smile, and then like she just didn't look like her anymore. You can see it looks like another person. And so did I have enough control in that situation? And my argument was that I actually didn't fully get where I wanted to go with it. And so I ended up actually using a mix of Runway and Comfy UI. And Comfy UI basically is an AI tool, but it gives you all of these different inputs that allow you to like input a video of someone, but have it look and do what you want it to do, but actually look at the image, look like the image of Saint Therese. And so I actually did most of the work ultimately in Comfy, but Runway definitely gave me some pieces of what I was looking for. So this is really an example. I was just trying to illustrate how Runway works and give you an example of how AI works, especially when you're just going input of an image and some prompts. It spits something out. It's skipping the CG process entirely, and why you might want to use it. I want to go into very briefly what else you might want to learn.
Wait, stop on her for a minute. So this is so
Okay.
fascinating. So do you think the LLM looked for just images of this saint, or did composites of all people, like where you just don't know what happened in the black box?
You don't know what happens in the black box, but it doesn't usually only look for nuns or just Saint Therese, because there's limited numbers of pictures of her, it
Right,
turns out.
right.
So you can't really fully train it on just her. So what it does is it picks up all people who kind of have her face and her angle, and it meshes them together. It puts it through the black box, and every single time you prompt, it gives a different like style. And so you're just trying to get it to do anything,
Yeah. I just
anything
want to know,
that you
did
want
she
it to
become
do.
a saint when she was like 12 years old? She looks so.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, she was a saint. Well, she was made a saint much later, but like,
Yeah, she died young.
yeah, because we didn't have any
Fascinating.
pictures of her, it just trains you on the internet. And so you get all of these different results. And so, for certain things, if you're just trying to create a quick piece of content or conceptually, like go through and create some animatics that maybe give you a general idea of what you're looking for, AI may be a way to go. However, if you want control over that, to really give you an idea of what your final output is going to be and have control over that, you may want to go towards a tool like Comfy. So hopefully, does that help?
Yeah. Yeah. And I just tell people, if like we use Synthesia, DID for things like Like, you always get the person at the beginning of the video that says, and click here and click here and click here. And we just use that for redundant instructions. It just creates a totally synthetic human that you can feed a script to and its mouth moves.
Yeah, synesthesia is really interesting. I actually created something for my children for Christmas. It was a Santa one that they had, and I was like saying like ho ho ho, Merry Christmas, like you've been such a good girl this year. And like, it was amazing to you just type in a text prompt and it sounds like Santa, and like the words are coming out, and it was different for each child, and I was able to customize it. So, these new AI tools they are also a lot of fun. And it does democratize computer graphics in a way. The only real question is like, if I'd wanted Santa to do something else other than sitting in that chair, you can't so much do that. So it really depends on the use cases of how much control you need. So, so I just created a slide, like what else do people need to learn? And I just wanted to sort of highlight that this stuff is hard and it breaks a lot, and it might not give you the answer that you're looking for. So you have to have a lot of patience and account with that. And then in general, be okay with change. Like it's good life skills in general, but be okay with change and learning and growing and being okay with new technology. Like if you're on the computer, you're a technologist these days, and you need to be keeping up with some of this stuff. If you can learn from other people's mistakes or hire other people to make those mistakes for you, and it's really good to employ people or get the education you need to sort of get caught up. It's the fastest way to get caught up is through education or learning through other people. And then again, one more note on just embracing the change. This isn't going away. Think about the transition to digital. Remember we used to have all of our film cameras, and now, everyone takes pictures on their phones. It's all changed. And I guess, where do you fit in? I think it's try it and start doing what you love. And get creative, have fun with this stuff. So that's my final note on that. And I am going to now turn it over to Ed.
Does anybody, before we turn it over to Ed and we go into motion capture, any questions for Jackie? That we went through a lot really quickly. But I've also been writing a lot about not just how you learn AI, but how you adopt it in your corporation and your workflow. And we've had the same cycles forever. I remember when I ran PC Magazine, we had a sneaker net. You moved a floppy disk, a disk from desk to desk, and that's how we edited a magazine. Then we got a LAN, but the LAN was a technology, but it involved totally new processes, a whole different series of check boxes, how it was going to get from the copy editor to the graphics person who had their hands on it. So I think we're kind of at the same place with AI. Everybody's been playing, and now it's really a matter, and that's why even if you never use the things Jackie's talked about, you can talk to your colleagues and coworkers about them in an intelligent way.
Yeah, and it's actually we'll show you at the end, but we actually have a series of classes that we're coming out with because of this, because there's so much that's coming at everyone so fast that we felt like having a couple of classes that show people like workflows would be an important thing. And so the first one we're coming out is like pre-production for content creation, because it's just and it's utilizing traditional skills, but also like how do you speed up those processes and have the control you need to get where you're going, but do it for like multiple shots. And I think it's important to be sharing that knowledge. So
Yep, and we have that link in the chat window for your AI course coming up.
oh, cool. So anyway, as I was saying, I now turn it over to Ed. It's in his capable hands.
Thank you. Yeah, I was just going to underscore what you guys were saying about AI. The diagram there with everything kind of skipping past all the processes is the sort of what the world thinks narrative, and the control part that Jackie was talking about is where we want to be involved in this process as people, and we want to be in there and tweak things and finesse things. And I think for that reason, the fundamentals are more important now than than they ever have been. And I think there's going to be a new generation of people that probably won't take as much care with those fundamentals and will make cool stuff. But if you want to make really cool stuff, my take is that being really good at the fundamentals, that meaning what is storytelling, what is makes a good picture in the first place, whether it's a photograph or a CG rendered image, the fundamentals are still effectively the same. I was going to share my screen to go through the couple of things that I was going to go through, and I actually had something else on my screen that's AI related as we were talking about AI. So I figured I would show it. If anyone here has heard of Gaussian splats, that's a sort of branch of radiance fields of being able to make 3D imagery out of photographs. And here we've got something in Houdini, which is looks like a real object. It's a 3D object, literally in 3D space, that this is generated through a neural network and ends up becoming kind of a volumetric 3D shape, which you can put into your imagery. You can put it into your 3D scenes. You can, because it's actually a 3D shape, you can actually also kind of do things with it as well. Like I've got this doing this weird wobbly thing here, but you can literally do anything that you want to it, and it's effectively like a 3D photograph. So some of this stuff is getting really, really cool. I just wanted to share that just because it happened.
Yeah,
to be
no, it's so
my
cool.
desktop.
And for those of you that don't know about Gaussian splats, it helped me to think about pointillist paintings, right?
Right.
Like, just lots of little splats of pixels that
If you zoom in
really,
there,
yep.
you can kind of see it. It's like, and as if I turn on um the wireframe there, you can kind of see what they actually are. Those are the the stretched kind of paint strokes almost is what they effectively become. And Houdini's a really cool program to be able to display it. This is all generated from a series of photographs that AI turns into this kind of soup of paint strokes, if you like. There's a good way of describing it, Robin. I like that. So I am going to talk about something that is not AI, but is Unreal and mocap. So what I've got here for anyone familiar with Unreal Engine, I know a few of the faces or names in the chat here, so I know a couple of you do. But what I'm going to show is just a little bit of mocap demo inside Unreal Engine here, and this is a really simple little scene which I did as a kind of speed test for one of the classes that we run, which teaches Unreal Engine. And if I just hide the little icons there, it's a scene from Mad Max. This is actually a photogrammetry scan here of one of the vehicles from the movie that was outside a building in Australia. Somebody scanned it and put it online. So we have a bunch of other bits that are kind of slapped together here inside Unreal Engine, and this took me maybe 5 or 6 hours to put together, kit bashing a lot of pieces that were already made. So I didn't make all this stuff from scratch, obviously, but using pre-existing pieces, cars, the landscape are built, and a lot of all the layout and the design, the layout of it was all me, but some of the bits I didn't make this rock myself. I didn't make this telegraph pole. It's all kind of what's called kit bashing. And if you get more in depth into making things in 3D, that's more and more common as a technique, is just bashing things together. Like it comes from the sort of old practical effects days of kit bashing kits together that built the Millennium Falcon, and the Star Wars kind of gave birth to all of this. So that's where that comes from. Anyway, I want to show you guys some mocap. So I'm going to show how I can puppeteer this character here. Here we have our metahuman Furiosa. And metahumans are the kind of character system that Unreal Engine uses. So one of our instructors put this Furiosa character together to be a part of this scene. And I'm going to bring her to life right now using the Sony Macopy mocap system, which is a beautiful little little, literally, mocap system that kind of fit in the palm of your hand and doesn't cost all that much. I think these are still somewhere around $400. And they between this system of sensors, these are all these little bits here. I think they look really cool too. Just the actual equipment, the way they've made it, it's really cool. This is the little charging case, and I do not get a commission for saying these things. I just love it. But between this and my phone, this is the equivalent of a mocap stage that we used to have to spend 15 grand for a day's worth of capturing motion. There's only 6 sensors in this version, but they did come out with a 12 sensor version that has more sensors and more accuracy. I'm going to put this on, so I'm going to turn it on. To do that, you just press all these buttons. They start glowing blue. And then on my phone here, I'm going to bring up the app, the Mocopi app. And as that loads up, we should be able to see that loading up right now. Hopefully you guys can see me as well. But there's the app. I'm going to say, yes, I want to start motion. Press OK a few times. And then I'm going to sit the sensors down somewhere flat. And then I'm going to hit connect sensors. And then we should see it starting to try and connect. So all of those little dots there are the sensors. And you can see them just starting to connect one by one. There they go. Got to keep them somewhere still. Otherwise, they complain. But as long as you keep them nice and still, then they'll connect. So I've got 5 connected out of 6. And just waiting for the last one to click in. The ankle did not connect. That is because
So
I
they're
think
connected to
it's not on.
various parts of your animated person's body, right?
Yeah. So the idea is basically I already put these straps on just to save time. But
Mm-hmm.
here's the little straps that I've got on my wrists, on my ankles. I'm going to take the headphones off and put the last one on my head. And this last strap goes on here. I've also got one more clip here, which this little thing is going to attach to the back of my trousers or pants, as you would say in this country. And if I don't drop it, there we go. So that's attached to the back. And still just waiting for this next one, this ankle to connect. I think I didn't turn it on at the beginning. So I think this is connecting now. Okay, it's all connected. So all the sensors, all connected. And hit confirm. And the next thing you do is put all the straps on. I put them on already. You pick your height, and then we then put them on. So I take them out of the case. All of these little bits here, I just simply snap them in. So they just drop in to the hand straps like that. So I'll just take 2 seconds and put those in. There goes the wrists and the hip and the head. And then I've just got 2. Is that going the right way? There it goes. Sometimes doing things behind you is difficult. There
Yeah.
we go. We got the ankles, and now I have to calibrate. So I'm going to hit calibration. I might have to do that one more time because I was a little quick with that. All right, recalibrate. So I have to stand straight.
So is anybody guessing what Ed's going to do next? Right? Dance, fly.
I can take requests if you like. I'm going to raise my desk up here for a second, just make it easier. But this now on my screen here, we've got
Ed,
on the phone.
watch out what you wish for, Ed. Somebody asked you to get into the vehicle.
And drive away. Okay. Let me just program that behavior into the system. So there's the character on my phone. You can probably just about see there that I'm now a Japanese teenage girl and I'm moving my limbs around. So that's controlling it on my phone. So we've already got the connection to the phone, which is great. But I want this connection to follow through into Unreal Engine. So the next thing that I want to do is make sure this now connects to Unreal. So I'm going to use this little live link connection here. I'm going to press the button on the phone that transmits the signal to the phone. You have to make sure you've got the right IP address and a few other kind of bits and bobs there. But if I just dock this here, you should now see that my Furiosa character is now being controlled by me. So I can now walk around and hopefully you guys can still hear me okay. I know a bit further away from the microphone probably doesn't help, but so now I can literally do whatever I want. The motion with the six sensor system, as you can see, it will do arms pretty well. You can actually kind of jump up and down. It will do that. You can lift your legs up. You can get a pretty decent range of motion. You can turn around. You can do quite a lot. There's six sensors, so it doesn't have obviously all your fingers. It doesn't have the rotation of the hands in this particular one, but the next version of it, you can get those things. And with a pair of gloves, there's a pair of gloves called Stretch Sense, about $600. You can get the hands too. So around $1,000, you can get body and hands, and you can use the phone to capture your facial animation. So for about $1,000 now and a laptop, you can, which is what I'm doing this on, you can get mocap and you can control your characters. And then there's a very simple process here where you can use a part of Unreal to just record this directly into the computer. You can record it straight into the scene. So the cool thing is here we've got, with a lot of mocap, you don't have the scene that you're acting in. With this situation, we're actually inside the mocap, inside the scene at the same time as doing the motion. So I can, if the scene was set up to the request of the person there, I could turn around and walk over here, and as long as there wasn't a wall here, I would be able to touch the car, maybe get in it, maybe drive away. But being able to be in here in the scene with the context, I think is the revolution is the size, the cost, and the practicality of being able to just do it yourself. This wasn't possible a few years ago. I'm going to pass this back now, but hopefully that was.
And you can mocap yourself, right? You can mocap yourself and have yourself then control. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I
So
did all of the things I did just there are all, I did them in real time. That's how long it takes to put the thing on, to calibrate it, to connect it, to
Amazing.
run it. I did it all by myself. I didn't have another person helping me with it. So yeah, you can do it all yourself.
I think I wanted to ask you, because we're coming up to 5 minutes. Did you want us to cut out the virtual production one, or do we have a few extra minutes? Because
Let's go through. We're on a roll, and it's all starting to make sense.
I just wanted to make sure on time, because we were covering very ambitiously a lot of material. So okay, Ed, do you want to just zoom through the virtual production?
Oh, sure. Okay, let me bring that up. So, okay, here we go.
We'll run 5 over, and
Okay.
because virtual production is hugely important. And
Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, no, I was just going to say that whatever you're watching, whether it's the Super Bowl or so much of it is done remotely, virtually, no nails, no hammers, no sets. So it's quite a changed world.
Yeah. I mean, the world of broadcast, the world of production, the world of content creation is all really shifting at the moment. And just where a lot of people doing their own broadcasts and making their own characters and broadcasting what I was just doing now, but doing something live with VTubing. So yeah, I covered the mocap thing with the Mocopi. Just a quick, real flash through virtual production. Virtual production is a big umbrella term, as is AI. Trying to crystallize it into some practical things that people will find useful. These 4 categories tend to work. Having visualization, so making a rough version of something that you want to make before you make the fancy version, like we did with The Lion King, which I worked on. We made a previs of that movie before it was made in fully fleshed out final pixels. We have green screen and blue screen, which is really integrating live action
Can't do that, honey.
and
We have
being
to
able
have
to.
insurance.
He's a
I
friend.
think we've
He's
got a
not
hot
gonna
mic
sue me.
from
You
somebody.
can't do it like that, honey. We have to have insurance. If he hurts himself,
There we go. Thank you. Green, you do have to have insurance, it's true. Green and blue screen is trying to get live action combined with computer graphics. So again, the thing we've been doing for a long time, but now we can do it in virtual production. That enables us to be able to, in real time, do it, as opposed to having to film something, imagine what it's going to be like next, and then ship it to post. We can now actually at least get a preview of that in production, if not with an LED wall, which is the next one, get the final image in camera on the day. So being able to bring the visual effects process forwards into production, as well as testing, doing tech viz or previs to figure out what it is we want to do next. The mocap and tracking side of it, I just showed you part of that, being able to track a person and put that virtually into some kind of environment for some different purposes, lots of different purposes. You can also track things like objects and cameras, and because you can track cameras, the old work that we used to have to do to extract cameras out of live action footage and then be able to put the visual effects in, we can now track the camera in real time at the time of filming, and therefore perhaps not have to do that work, but also to be able to get the visual effects into the production process, which is really where virtual production kind of shines, is both in those visualization stages, being able to test and iterate and change things on set, where you've got the filmmakers and creatives in the process of making the set extensions or the visual effects. It's way better to do it all together as a group of creatives than it is to have to push it out into a different room or country or piece of time. So the good use cases for, as I already said, visualization, being able to test things for doing shots later on. Like you can literally take those a scan of your set that you filmed on, and because, as I showed you with the Gaussian splat thing here, you can scan your thing, your world, your set, and then put this up on a screen behind you, and not a shoe, probably something more like a set, but you can pretty easily scan the set you're in and then do a reshoot on an LED wall, not have to get everyone back, send them to the set again, spend all that money again. So there are lots of different good use cases for it, for doing quick insert shots, for doing reshoots, for shooting people who maybe don't want to go travel to the set. You can bring them into a volume in the town that they live in and still get them in your piece, and that way people are accessing really expensive A-list Hollywood talent for a fraction of the price, or just being able to access them where before they may have said no. So to make this stuff, you need a background. The background is either typically an image, a video, a 3D environment like I was showing you with Unreal Engine, or now some new tools that are coming out and being able to do it, things like Gaussian splats or V-Ray, the ray tracer that we used for years in film is now made a real-time version of it. There's all these advances happening in how we can create the imagery for the background, but the idea is we put an image up behind a person or a set, and you shoot them with the camera, and you get what you get. You get everything in the can on the day. That's kind of the idea. View, who's a partner and good friends of ours, they build a system, a set of systems that have kind of simplified and reduced the complexity of the average person being able to access this. They actually have a system in View 1, which is 100,000 US, which sounds like a lot, but if you compare it to millions and millions of dollars to be able to build a volume, it gives access to people to be able to use this for a tiny fraction of that cost. And a lot of companies are buying them to be able to practice with this, to be able to use it for corporate videos, to be able to use it for even for short form or medium. So time to
Yeah, just
keep
yeah,
going.
yeah. Just kind of go to the inner circle
Sure.
stuff and what
Okay.
we are kind of doing.
Okay. So just as a conclusion to our section here, as mentioned before, the thing that's helped me in my career the most is to keep learning, never stop. Just because you finish school doesn't mean you should stop. We also mentioned the skills that are important are really traditional skills, CG skills, art skills, story skills, filmmaking. Some of the new stuff like virtual production and real time and the AI components are the new things that people need to learn. The CG Pro mantra or reason for being is to help with that. So as a non-shameless plug and talking about ourselves, we teach all of this stuff. We teach fundamentals, we teach workflows, but we teach these through these new cutting edge tools, which is, I think, the difference between us and a traditional school. So
Yeah, we are quite fortunate. Do we all agree that we just had a master class? Um, can't thank you enough. And the cost. I mean, Ed talked about $100,000, but a mocap he talked about a $400
yeah,
bunch of hardware that will let you do things. So all of these things are becoming within the realm of possible
yep.
for all of us. And I don't know where my last PowerPoint is. So I'll just say the next things we're working on
Can
are,
I just, sorry, just very briefly before
yeah,
we wrap, in talking about the cost, because I know people might be curious about that for us. We are, I'm going to skip through all of these. We have our inner circle, which is $50 a month. This gives you access to CG Pro, and it's something that you can have year round. We have live sessions. You can come in and ask us questions. We have tons of training material in there. And this also is very heavily AI enabled. So we have AI teaching assistants in there. We have this incredible library you can search through down to the word in terms of what you're looking for in terms of training. So the inner circle is, in terms of affordability, our most affordable thing that we run. We also have courses, but I just wanted to briefly highlight some of the things that we do in there. A lot of Unreal, Houdini, Blender, AI, and just to be able to finally say we also have an app that we just released, so you can even use it on your phone and keep in touch with us all the time.
yeah. And your graduates are all great. We've used some of your graduates on our stages who've taken your classes. So if you guys are looking for skilled people, it's also a great resource.
Thank you. All right.
I
Thanks for
remember
listening
our
to that, Laura.
mocap guy, Jackie, right? We had
Yeah.
our mocap guy who was fabulous. Yeah. So again, thank you. Thank you all for sparing an extra 5 minutes of your day with us. We'll be back next month, so keep tuned for our newsletters, watch the NAB videos, and for those of you that will be at Infocom, we're resuming way out there. We will have a show of humanoid robots in conversation with each other over my dead body. But yes, it's working out. So it's pretty and so if you take AI and you attach it to robots, you get some really interesting combinations that we're seeing now. So we hope we'll see you there. Happy Earth Day, happy springtime, and thank you for joining us. Thank you, Jackie and Ed, so much.
You bet. Thanks for having us. Good to see you all.
Yeah, good to
Take
see
care.
you, everyone.
Go make some cool stuff.